07 Commanders, and welcome to Archer's Guide to Surface Mining. For this video, I assume you have zero background about how mining is done, and so I'll take you through a step-by-step process along the way to building a ship, getting the ore, and then selling it off so you too can make Elite Trader and be rolling in credits. Any links and builds are listed below next to those like and subscribe buttons, and if you have any questions or tips, feel free to leave a comment, or catch me live on Twitch. Now, let's go make some money. There are two main types of mining in the game right now, surface and core, but for this guide we'll be focusing on surface mining as I feel it's the easiest to get started with. Now, when you start out mining, there's some things you'll need to keep in mind. Mining can be done in any ship and is fairly cheap to get started. To prove this point, I did a lot of this run in a Sidewinder. Not something I'd recommend, but it can be done. That being said, there's definitely ships that are better at it than others. Below I've listed a couple of ships that shouldn't be too hard to get hold of and really improve your mining time invested. Cobra Mk III, Type 6, or Asp Explorer are great beginner miners. Depending on how much time you spend out in the asteroid fields, a Python, a Crate Mark II, or even the Mighty Cutter in Type 9 are fantastic ships to mine with. But as I said earlier, you can mine in any ship because a surface mining ship boils down to basically these 6 components. Number 1, mining laser. This is the thing that allows you to break off the nuggets of cash for your limpets to scoop up. Size 2 fixed is fantastic, and a pair of these will keep a dozen or so active limpets collectors busy. But 1 is really all you need to get started. Number 2, prospector limpet controllers. Here all you need is the smallest size, preferably A-rated. This is a piece that you fire off to see if an asteroid has the goods you're looking for, or can be passed by for another target. Don't forget to target your limpet once you fire it to get the mineral breakdown once it contacts the asteroid. Number 3, collector limpet controller. Here, more is better. The more active limpets you have working, the faster your ore is collected, and the sooner you can move on to the next rock. Binding these to your mining laser trigger means that you're replacing limpets as often as they burn out. Also, technically you don't need collector limpets as you can manually scoop the chunks, but even a size 1 controller will be infinitely more efficient than going that route. Just a heads up too, limpets are one and done, so bring lots. They're cheap and you can always dump the extra if they're not needed. And if you're surface mining in a wing, someone might need the extras. Way to be a team player there, pal. Refineries, you need at least 1. Bigger sizes can hold very different materials in their hoppers, so if you change materials often, going from like low temperature diamonds to painite, it might pay off to have a larger one, but usually a small one is fine if you're focusing. Refinery tip, if you filled your cargo bay hold to the brim, your refinery will keep the extra bits in there, filling it up until it's maxed. Then when you go sell your cargo, the bins will clear and you could wind up with a couple extra tons of material to sell. Number 5. Cargo holds. Cargo racks specifically. Seems pretty obvious, right? You need a place to put the ore you're collecting. Bigger is better? Not always. More cargo space means more cargo for more credits. You really should think about how much time you're going to be spending out there though. If you're not trying to spend hours out in the fields, something like a 200 cargo capacity will be sufficient for a couple of hours activity. Trying to max out your cargo space to fill 500 tons of ore isn't always the best option. Sometimes having the extra space available for quality of life things like fuel scoops or Guardian FSD boosters can really help if you're planning to use the same ship to go and sell all the ore you've collected. Here's a tip. If you've got a favorite system that you like to mine in that you keep coming back to, and there's an available station, you can use a fuel scoop to help travel to the system to mine in, then swap it for extra collector controllers. Also, you can buy your limpets in the system that you're mining to save some potential extra jumps rather than bringing them with you. Finally, for number 6, you're going to need a detailed surface scanner, or DSS as I'll refer to it. This can be a little pricey for new commanders as it runs about 250,000 credits. This allows you though to probe rings to find the hotspots that you'll be wanting to mine in. More on that later. If you're winging with another person and they have one, you can always skip it for now and just follow them into the right areas, but you'll likely need one before too long. DSS tip, if you're returning to a system you've mined before but don't see the orange hotspots, make sure you actually have your DSS installed and online. If you don't, you won't be able to see the hotspots even if you've been there before. Whew. Okay, so now you've got a ship with all the components you need to start mining. To actually get out there and do things, you'll want to visit this little website called Miner's Tool. Link is below. Here you can type in which system you're in, hit the button on what material you're looking to mine, and boom, you get info on what system is nearest with the hotspots you need. As of this video, I recommend selecting Painite or low temperature diamonds, but your mileage may vary. The Painite locations generated are double hotspots. What this means is you get 2 hotspots of valuable materials overlapping each other, thus doubling your chances of finding asteroids with materials you're looking for. Chart a course for the system in question and get your limpets loaded up. Don't forget you can purchase limpets in the advanced maintenance section of station services. Upon arrival, take a second to pull up your system map. The location you receive should include a planet and ring designation. Keep in mind that all of these asteroid belts are going to be located in the rings around the largest planets, so that should help narrow it down if you're unsure. Once you get to the ring, slow down and bring up your DSS. If you haven't configured your fire groups yet, now's a good time. My recommendation is mining lasers and collector limpets on A and prospector limpets on B. Anyway, you'll want to launch your DSS probes at the rings. Sometimes there are 2 separate rings that need to be probed, and an inner ring closest to the planet can be very narrow and hard to see sometimes. You should now see a lot of orange hotspots appearing in front of you. Go to your left panel under Navigation. You'll see the double spots is nearly the same distance from you. Let's head over there now. You'll want to find a zone that is covered by all the overlapping hotspots, basically looking for that sweet spot on a Venn diagram. Once you've reverted to real space, start making your way towards the rocks, but don't start mining yet, for there could be danger afoot. If you're like me and mine without shields or defensive weapons, you're going to want to pay attention to this next tip. Each time you enter a real space area you tend to mine, you have a high chance of prompting a pirate investigation. Sometimes you'll get system security as well, which is nice, but you're going to want to wait at least a couple of minutes to see what shows up before you start breaking rocks. Ideally, you'll get approached by the pirate, scanned, and then they'll give you a little message about, oh, you're wasting our time. Then he'll just kind of peace out and leave you alone. At this point, you're in the clear. Of course, this only works for the NPC pirates. If you're mining in open, well, good luck. Another thing to watch out for is if you've been mining for a while and get disconnected or have to log out for some reason. The moment you log back in, you better get your butt into Super Cruise or jump to another system because it can prompt another one of these pirate encounters. But this time, you'll probably have cargo they want and they won't be so nice about taking it. But if the coast is clear at this point, let's get started. First things first, find an asteroid. Duh. Go ahead and fire off a prospector limpet and target the limpet to get your results. You want to be fairly close to the rocks so your prospector doesn't go out of range. If you found something with a mineral you want, great, you can begin mining. If not, move to the next rock and rinse repeat until you get something worth lasering. This process can sometimes take a little bit, but be patient and keep firing off those prospectors. General rule of thumb is about a 20% concentration in the material you're after. Assuming you've now found a rock, it's time to engage lasers and collectors. Also, this is a big one, and I forget it more often than I'd like to admit. Open your cargo hatch. If you're close enough to your target, you'll start seeing chunks breaking off, and a little light show of your leaping limpets will dance around before your eyes. The ballet of money. If you haven't already done this, I strongly recommend you go to the left panel, and in your contacts section, look for ore you don't want to be collecting. From here, you can select the unwanted ore, like gold, and have your limpets ignore the collection of it. You'll especially want to do this if you have a smaller refinery and cargo hold, as you can fill up on this junk ore very easily. I would also recommend not filtering out elements labeled as actual materials, as they have no weight, require no storage, and can be used for synthesis and engineering. If you end up collecting items you don't want, you can go over to your right panel, find the tabs for your refinery and cargo, and abandon the unwanted materials or limpets if you found you've brought too many at some point. I recommend abandoning over jettisoning so your collector limpets won't try to bring them right back to you. Now, if you've gotten to this point and everything's working right, well done, you're a space miner now. While you continue to look through the asteroids, you'll want to keep an eye out on your limpet count, how much material you've brought on board, and how much space you have available for cargo. Also, double check to make sure your cargo hatch is open. Keep looking for rocks with the materials you're after and fill up with as much cargo as you can. I also want to note that you can wing up with other miners. It can be a lot of fun to have other people around, especially if one of them brought lasers to fend off any pirates that could pop up if somebody disconnects. Everyone has their own asteroid to mine, but limpets will indiscriminately grab ore chunks, so it can be a little bit tougher if you don't have as many active collectors as some of the other miners. But it's still nice to have an extra set of eyes watching out for trouble, and also reporting back any rich finds they find with their prospectors. And finally, to the good part, you've spent your time out there, you've brought on all the ore, and your cargo hold is filled to bursting, and you're ready to go sell. Well, don't just go to the nearest station. The amount of money you can make off of a ton of ore can vary drastically. You'll want to go back to that miner tool used previously to tell you where to go. If you scroll down to the bottom of the page, it'll tell you what stations are closest and are paying the most. Make sure to pay attention to the pad sizes available as well, because if you're in a large ship and they don't have a large pad, well, you're out of luck. One final note, while you're making your trip back with your cargo hold full of goodies, don't go AFK or start jumping systems and look away and start browsing things, because you have a chance to get interdicted by NPC pirates again. You'll want to be on your toes to be able to dodge out of their clutches. Otherwise, once you arrive at the station marked for selling, make sure that the price that they're offering for your precious cargo is what the miner tools said it was to be, or close enough that it makes a little difference. A couple of these mining trips, though, will snowball your credits in-game. You'll very quickly have access to the largest ships and the best modules. Anyways, thanks for watching, everybody, and again, if you have any tips or questions, leave a comment below. But we'll see you next time, and as always, fly safe, don't forget your limpets. What? No! All power to engines, go, go, go!